This is Laurie Moore-Moore with the Texas Brave and Strong podcast. Today's topic, a European utopia on the Trinity River. A dream of a socialist utopia. It began in Paris in 1848, but who would have guessed it would soon spread to Texas, to the limestone cliffs overlooking the Trinity River. A wave of unsuccessful political revolutions swept across Europe in the mid-1800s. After the failed revolutions, Europe was no longer the place to try socialist theories. However, one socialist dreamer, Frenchman François Fourier, was so inspiring with his utopian theories that America became dotted with experimental utopian communities. A disciple of Fourier, Victor Considerant, became leader of the Fourier movement after Fourier's death. Expelled from France in 1851, Considerant traveled to the U.S. and on to Texas, motivated by a visit from the Peters Group, which was promoting its land-grant holdings in the state. Impressed by what he saw as a positive environment for starting a new utopian agricultural community on the Texas frontier, near the tiny log cabin village of Dallas, he returned to Europe and wrote a book, To Texas, in which he praised the potential of the state for settlement. "The promised land is a reality," he wrote. Within a year of the book, a company was formed with the purpose of setting up communities following Fourier's communal principles. The company quickly raised $300,000 to support their first effort in Texas, a community named La Reunion. On his first visit to the Three Forks of the Trinity River, Considerant had seen land which he thought would lend itself to vineyards. He was encouraged that his idea would work when he met a French photographer in Dallas, who had successfully made wine from the state's native Mustang grapes. He instructed his agents to buy 2,000 acres of the land he had identified. The initial group of 200 French and French-speaking Belgians and Swiss recruits left Antwerp and sailed for 60 days to reach New Orleans, sailed on to Galveston, then traveled to Houston. Believing they would simply then sail up the Trinity River to Dallas, they were shocked to learn that the river was not navigable due to the tangled knots of trees and brush which blocked clear passage. Instead, the group rented ox carts and drivers, loaded their possessions, and walked for 26 days from Houston to Dallas, about 270 miles as the crow flies. Many of these folks were wearing wooden shoes. It was a tedious, exhausting journey. Upon arrival in Dallas in April of 1855, they discovered that the land Considerant had wished to purchase had not been available, and the agents had bought 2,000 acres on the limestone cliff overlooking the Trinity River, land that was not ideal for farming. A few buildings had been constructed in anticipation of their arrival, but they would have to build more as well as plant their crops. 500 cattle, some sheep and pigs had been purchased and needed caring for. It was a daunting challenge for the colonists, only 2 of whom had farming experience. The others included artists, an architect, musicians, tailors, shoemakers, weavers, jewelers, a pastry cook, a hat maker, a dance master, orchestra conductor, butcher, baker, cabinet maker, and a stonemason. In short, they were mostly artists and craftsmen. Agricultural skills were sorely lacking. To make matters worse, Considerant's overbearing manner and mismanagement resulted in complaints from the new settlers and feelings that they had been misled. Dallasites took an interest in the community of foreigners, and socials and Sunday dances were held both in Dallas and at La Reunion. But from the start, problems from bad weather, the fact that there was absolutely no transportation to take their crops to market, and poor management decisions plagued the colony. One of the first to leave was Considerant, who simply deserted La Reunion, slipping away to San Antonio and then returning to Europe. Although new recruits came in, the colony slowly crumbled. Some people returned to Europe, others drifted into Dallas. About 160 families moved to Dallas and opened businesses like bakeries, a brewery, a hat shop, a brick and cement business, and even a dance school. When the Civil War started, a few men from La Reunion enlisted and served with distinction. However, others did not feel that this was their war. An incident reported in The Lusty Texans of Dallas, written by John William Rogers, shows the colonists' creativity and reluctance to join the battle. Confederate soldiers accosted an elderly Frenchman on the road between La Reunion and Dallas, ordering him to stop. Not understanding English, he didn't obey and was shot in the hip. Citizens of La Reunion took this as a threat, no wonder, and prepared to defend themselves by turning one of their buildings into a fort. When Confederate soldiers appeared to press the men into military service, the men and the women of the colony soon had all of the building's windows bristling with guns. Assuming that at least 100 armed men were inside, the soldiers left. When a larger group of soldiers returned to seize the weapons, none were found. The colonists had buried them. Later, the governor of Texas exempted the colonists from military duty. Following the war during Reconstruction, La Reunion colonists who had not served in the Confederacy were eligible to hold city offices and other positions of authority, something from which Dallas benefited. Colonist Benjamin Long was appointed mayor during Reconstruction and was so popular that he was subsequently elected twice by the citizens. Today, La Reunion is remembered by a small cemetery in Dallas's Oak Cliff neighborhood and by Reunion Tower, a 561-foot observation tower with revolving restaurant which commands Dallas's downtown skyline and overlooks the limestone cliff where La Reunion was established. Although La Reunion went bankrupt and dissolved, it had a strong impact on Dallas. The European colony brought educated European citizens, culture, new trades, and an interest in things international to the small town. La Reunion helped lay the groundwork for Dallas to become a cultured, international city. This has been Laurie Moore-Moore with Texas Brave and Strong, tidbits of Texas history you didn't learn in school. Thanks for listening. Y'all come back.